Really packed agenda with some great speakers that are going to bring us some timely and relevant updates on efforts that support everything we're doing to continue to develop that talent pipeline here in our regions. So now what I'd like to do is turn it over to Carmen Hilbert.
This is one reason why we developed this special website, Help Is Here. It contains information for businesses, career seekers, and for our own local workforce development board network. The website, it focuses on providing an immediate response to connect job seekers and businesses to critical resources. It's also a way of connecting Floridians to local workforce development boards for customized, on-the-ground help that we know so many need right now during these times. It's also developing innovative solutions to generate job recovery and retention and business continuity. We are always committed to helping Florida thrive long-term. Part of the economic recovery is ensuring businesses can hire and train new and existing employees. So the last program year, the second half, fell within the start of the coronavirus. So you can see, even during those times, we were still helping businesses to ensure that they had the talent that they needed, helping businesses that needed training, whether or not it was hiring new employees that needed training, or what we saw a high amount in is those existing businesses that needed to retrain and upskill their current employees to meet new market needs. So as we know, career pathways and sector partnerships, they help businesses in key industries connect with qualified workers.
So now what I'd like to do is introduce Greg. Greg is a senior workforce education strategist with ToolingU SME.
So this is kind of a visual of the certification pathway. I'm certain many of you are familiar with many of these existing credentials. And this is just showing you the three. We pull a lot of data using burning glass data. These are probably the three roles that are best aligned to this specific certification: production worker, laborer, warehouse worker, and the manufacturing production technician at the entry level. And these are all very high demand jobs if you look at the hiring data over the past several years and even within the past 12 months. This is the data coming directly from Burning Glass and other sources around those three roles. So this is the one around production worker. This is the one on laborer, warehouse worker. And the next one is on the manufacturing production technician, which I know that you have already have an apprenticeship program built around in the state of Florida. Again, we're really excited about the certification and supporting the state of Florida as you work to support manufacturers across your state.
So one of the things too I'd like to remind everyone is the AEROFLEX training program that they're referencing is the one that I know you've heard us talk about. We are using the manufacturing associate credentialed training as the core training that we're putting job seekers through right now. But we're helping to identify and pre-assess and vet job seekers. We're spending a week with them before the technical training, doing work readiness type training, soft skills training before we even put them through that core technical training. However, that core is designed and defined by each employer. And then we turn them over to you for continued on the job training. The license and access to ToolingU is good for each of these trainees for up to a year. So either post-employment or prior to employment, we can add access to any of the hundreds of offerings that ToolingU has to make sure the skills and the competencies and that entry-level workforce that you're looking for is under their belt. Also, we can help with the follow-on work-based training, OJT, if needed, and again, the curriculum and that's offered through the modules of ToolingU can also be part of that on-the-job training program. We've had a couple of employers that we've been working with that have defined modules and trainings unique to their operation. So, just a reminder that this program is very much employer-centric, can be uniquely defined by you. We have that great partnership with Greg at ToolingU, Juliana at Training Funding Partners. So we're all here to help get that talent with the skills and competencies that each of you need to you as quickly as possible, and also help pay for the cost of that training. So, and two, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that one of the things ToolingU does extremely well is whether for incumbents or those that may be enrolled in our system and going through the training, if we have a trainee that we see is struggling with a module, they have industry partners and mentors that they connect each of those trainings with to help them understand the skills and the competencies that are being taught in each of those modules too. So
our Space Coast Consortium apprenticeship program is modeled after a European model, which is a long-term apprenticeship program. We've started with 2-year programs. We did a series of workshops with Space Florida and CareerSource Brevard and EDC, and also Eastern Florida State College. And we came up with 17 occupations that are needed here in the area. We could not address all 17 at that time, but we decided on registering the 3 apprenticeship programs that we have registered with the state of Florida now. And those are mechatronics technician, advanced CNC/DNC machinist, and fiber composite technicians. And so we founded a Space Coast Consortium apprenticeship program as an autonomous subcommittee of Space Tech, which brings in other certifications that are well known throughout the state. At the moment, we have 7 apprentices that are in our program, in the mechatronics technician program. This is, in partnership with Eastern Florida State College, where the machinery and equipment is, and we're getting ready to set up our CNC advanced machinist program in the spring with 8 apprentices, and then in the fall we'll be starting our fiber composite apprenticeship programs. As we have now currently 10 member companies. The current members that you see up top are those that are at the moment engaged or beginning to engage in the mechatronics and the CNC. And then prospective members are a number of different companies that we have talked to that have expressed interest at some point and will be joining on. But we are working alongside the Brevard Public Schools adult education. We have registered as a sponsor their pre-apprenticeship program, which is getting ready to get started here. And we're also in discussions with BPS, the high schools, to do the same, and also with Valencia College as a pre-apprenticeship. So we have been able to secure, with the assistance of our manufacturing communities and Eastern Florida State College, 3 different grants that have helped to support this program, and a 4th grant which we secured with National Science Foundation for a German tour and to set up an apprenticeship exchange program with Germany.
We are a 4-year state certified apprenticeship program in machining. Our first year class is math and blueprint reading. Second year is manual machines, which are lathes and mills. We have our classes at the Eastern Florida Cocoa campus. It's our third year is CNC machining, and fourth year is CAD/CAM design. And we also have a 3D machine that the students are introduced to 3D machining. It is an 8,000 hour program. Now, 8,000 hours is a 4-year program, and that's demanded by the Florida Department of Education. So we follow all of their rules and regulations, and it's an on-the-job part of our program that is the second half. So we have instructions by our instructors at the classrooms on the Cocoa campus. But the other half of the program is that they have to work at one of our member companies full time. They get paid for the work they do. Our instructors are the secret to our success. They all work in the field that they are teaching.
Primarily, we are here to help small and medium-sized manufacturers grow and prosper. And so in my role with Florida Makes, I try to find statewide programs or opportunities to help manufacturers with talent development. Our first child is the industrial manufacturing technician, and it is a registered occupation with the Department of Labor. And we use the Certified Production Technician Curriculum 4.0. It was just updated in June of this year by the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. So we created a competency-based model that could be available online, on demand, without some of the barriers to traditional apprenticeship programs that are pretty much done regionally, as an alternative path to those who could not get to a classroom. And it is a 1-year entry-level program. We're also talking about, crosswalking all of these apprenticeship programs, how we can all feed into each other and give prior credit as people move through careers in manufacturing. So we have a 200-hour online curriculum. Again, it is the Certified Production Technician curriculum. And then there are 2,000 hours of on-the-job training. As with all apprenticeship programs, they must be full-time employees. And we've created a complete digital online engagement program for manufacturers. So it really is build a better employee within your own organization. And again, CareerSource, it is eligible for CareerSource funding, Veterans Florida funding. And what manufacturers are really looking for is something that's very flexible as another opportunity. It's a pretty turnkey plug and play model. This program allows the apprentice to work all day, log in anytime, any place, and take the curriculum. We really hope that this, again, steps them into and articulates into other registered apprenticeship programs. It's particularly attractive to women and single parents and underrepresented populations who do not see themselves typically as college bound. And again, it's a very low cost of participation for the employer. ToolingU is the national training partner for the MEP system. So I did want to let you know all this credibility keeps rolling in to, you'll see all of these organizations. And thank you again, Judy, for allowing me time to present.
Now on our agenda is an update from Frank DeBello. And I want to be respectful of Frank's time. As you know, Frank is the president and CEO of Space Florida.
So as a summary for what we see with the aerospace industry, clearly there's going to continue to be industry consolidation with a lot of mergers and acquisitions as companies integrate vertically to increase their share of the supply chain and value-added revenue streams, but also there's a lot of reshoring opportunities which we will continue to see happen. And those are real opportunities for Florida. Like that there's an emphasis on revitalizing facilities to invest in lowering cost of operations and improving productivity. And from a manufacturing perspective, especially with workforce, that is always where our manufacturing strength will be if we can continue to drive on productivity improvement. And relocation and modernized facilities become a big part of that. So the outlook for Florida looks good in that area. Another key area is strengthening security. And you all know what CMMC and cybersecurity concerns have been, not only for the manufacturers, but for our R&D companies. And there's going to be an increased emphasis on cybersecurity in the management of the supply chain. I think we'll all see from a workforce perspective, increased use of AI and robotics and next-gen technologies, and trying to keep up with those in our workforce training programs is going to be critical. And companies will really work on not only acquiring skills, but maintaining those workforce skills to retain them in the companies, as opposed to losing them to other companies, because growth opportunities for Florida have to draw from the next generation workforce. If I look then at where the future growth targets are for Florida, I see transportation infrastructure, and that includes both space systems and other platforms, many of which will be autonomous. We're looking to destination hardware, MRO, advanced technologies, simulators, training devices, autonomous vehicles across the board, in the air and on the ground, and advanced aerospace propulsion leading into hypersonics. But clearly, a lot of our focus will be on the things that go up into space to do work. It's also going to be in the data storage and communications area and infrastructure services, both in space and on the ground. We're going to increasingly look to the growth of the in-space companies that are doing R&D or manufacturing or providing other kinds of services. And we see that emerging as a major market focus for the next decade. So spaceport development is going to have to keep up with the increased need for capacity and capability. And it is our goal to develop more with our partners, federal and industry, a launch on demand and satellite on demand capability. And the underpinning of all of that is the capital investment and capital formation for Florida. I'll begin to get to a close because I want to emphasize that the critical skills needs that we see clearly are in all of the manufacturing, engineer, and technician across all the trades that you're addressing in this workshop. And I really was pleased with some of the presentations that I've seen so far, what we need to do, but we also need to work across the board with developing more cybersecurity design engineers, advanced software design and programmers, especially cybersecurity sensitive engineers with specific skills in telecom, transportation, and data systems management, and across the board in all areas of STEM. And this is going to have to be strengthened by a direct industry involvement with our talent supply chain organizations, whether they be the universities or otherwise. I mentioned at the beginning of this that we have a vested interest in everything that this community is involved in. This is a list from the Aerospace Industries Association showing that they rank Florida 6th among aerospace states for aerospace and defense employment. Others have us at 7th. This is an area where we have an opportunity over this next decade to really become a leader.
Brian is the Communications and Partner Relations Director with the Economic Development Commission of Florida Space Coast. As you know, one of our strong key stakeholders in this consortium effort, not only for the aerospace industry, but all industries here in our region.
The data I'm going to share with you today, I think, is really the antidote to doom scrolling and the negative news cycle, because it's a great time to be on the Space Coast in spite of the challenges presented by the pandemic. And hopefully you'll come away with some optimistic views for the coming year. So these are some of the game-changing projects and companies we were able to attract and get to expand on the Space Coast over the last 10 years. And a good example of how you can have diversification within aerospace. I'll go over some of the details later on. One thing you'll see throughout the data here is that Brevard County really punches above its weight. So the next census will show that we're over 600,000 people, but you look at how we perform compared to metro areas that have 2 and 3 times the population, and we're right there with job creation, and we're ahead in terms of $2 billion in CapEx. So really a high performing economic engine that we've developed here. So why have we fared better than some of our neighbors in the state and many communities across the country? Well, you look at the concentration of manufacturing employment that we have locally, and it's more than twice the state average. And again, I mentioned those manufacturing jobs were not diminished during the pandemic, and the companies found ways to have a safe workplace and continue their work, and it was deemed essential. So these are, when we talk about diversification in industry, those are the type of jobs that you want. It's not just launch, but we want to be making the systems that are going up into space. And we've led the state of Florida in manufacturing job growth over the past 3 years. It's by a large margin. So again, we're outpacing metro areas much bigger than us, and that's an important piece of our economy and the future of our economy. And for a community that's known as the Space Coast, I think it's pretty impressive that given the quarter, we're either 1 or 2 in industry diversification, which again is a big difference from when we had most of our eggs in the space shuttle basket, or in earlier decades the Apollo basket. So it's very, very important. And again, manufacturing is a big part of that mix, and we need certified production technician skill sets. We need apprenticeships and welding and soldering and all those trades in order to keep what we've won and sustain this economy. But this is a pretty important thing, and a reason why we're doing better than a lot of our neighbors in the state across. Looking ahead, these are some of the projects that are ramping up. You can advance the slide, please. We mentioned Arian, so this is important because you've got executive leadership, you've got the engineers, you're gonna have the production jobs. 675 new jobs. Arian says they want to give Blue Origin a run for their money in terms of the type of campus they're building. So if anybody's been to the Blue Origin campus, it's spectacular. Those 675 jobs, average annual salary is $109K. So think about the discretionary income that's being put in the community. Just a great project. Would have been a big deal in a normal year. To get this win in 2020 was huge. Next slide, please. I mentioned Embraer. They've added to their product lines since we won the project, and now they're diversifying what they make here by introducing a medevac solution as well. So that's a great thing to see from a great partner. L3 Harris. So Harris, obviously, longtime presence on the Space Coast. L3 was here as well. This was a merger of equals. They decided to keep their global headquarters here on the Space Coast, as well as 2 division headquarters. And to give you an idea of how important L3 Harris is, which is one of our largest employers, over 7,000 employees, they added 450 jobs during 2020. I mean, just a fantastic employer. And, a lot of what they do here is significant because, again, we talk about the diversification within aerospace defense contracting. They make things, for the Space Force and for the Air Force that are going to have implications for what we're able to get in terms of strategic basing. Obviously, pretty dynamic Fortune 500 company to have here as well. But this is a case study of the Fleet Ballistic Missile headquarters, which relocated from Sunnyvale, California. Next slide, please. 350 new jobs from California. They could have gone to Colorado, but I think we're going to see a shifting of gravity in terms of Lockheed Space. They've got 35 acres up in Titusville, and we could see some expansion there as well this year. Next slide, please. Blue Origin, these numbers are just spectacular. Anytime you have one of the 2 richest men in the world investing $1 billion in your community, I think you're doing something right. Again, nearly 500 jobs, 114K average annual wage, 1 million square feet, and that includes their production facility, mission control, launch pad. much bigger than the specs that the project was signed at. So great to see that under promise and over commitment from Blue Origin. Boeing, I mean, so we're attracting from the West Coast. We're also attracting from the DC metro area and getting the Space and Launch Division headquarters, moving to Titusville. A great neighborhood there with the Space Coast Regional Airport, Spaceport, as well as Lockheed Martin FBM, Astrotech, really a new center of gravity for aerospace. But Boeing's got a lot going here on the Space Coast. They manufacture the Starliner, which is the other piece of the commercial crew program. That's going to be tested this year. A big milestone coming up. They're going to be launching the Orion Artemis spacecraft on the SLS. X-37B program is big here. So, Boeing really sees the Space Coast as their center of gravity for space and launch. Firefly is a good example of a small commercial space company that's at Space Florida's Exploration Park complex. They're coming up on some important testing milestones and looking to establish a manufacturing facility here on Merritt Island in the Cape. As Frank said, this is arguably the highlight of the year was the return of astronauts. Obviously, the Space Coast has a long track record of making history like this. And as I like to say, we still make history, and now we make everything else at the college. EDC is still working a lot of different projects, and you can see that mix: manufacturing, ag, space, other. That's the kind of diversity we want to see. And 2020 didn't slow down at all. So again, happy to be here and share some good news. Hopefully that wraps things up and gives everybody a sense of optimism for 2021.
I think the work we're doing here is valuable. It's important. We need to continue it. We started with the career pathways because we thought it was a critical component of both the communications plan and the exercise of looking at what is needed for developing or enhancing our current training offerings. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Thank you for your continued support. And we look forward to working with all of you in the very near future. We have a lot happening. We've come a long way, and we're excited to continue to get to work.